In this conversation, the speakers explore profound themes surrounding the secret to life, the importance of balance, and the role of mindfulness and awareness in personal growth. They discuss how the quest for knowledge can sometimes hinder presence in life and emphasize the significance of finding a balance between ambition and inner peace. The dialogue also touches on the impact of external narratives and the necessity of self-awareness in navigating life's complexities. In this conversation, the speakers explore the themes of love, unity, and the importance of living a moral life. They discuss the psychological biases that can cloud judgment and the need for self-reflection and humility. The speakers advocate for a mindful approach to life, encouraging listeners to connect with a higher power and to embrace vulnerability as a means of personal growth. Ultimately, the conversation calls for unity and understanding among diverse belief systems, highlighting the shared human experience.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Universal Lens. This is 101. We just started out in a dime.
Keep it real.
Yeah, man. Keeping it real.
Keep it real.
Thank you for coming back. We are sans headphones today. I don't know. We just didn't want to put them on.
Ooh, you put it
call
down
it,
there.
Call it lazy. Call it lazy. Call it whatever you want to call it.
We're fashionable.
Yes. I just didn't want to mess up my hair.
You know, we're fashion icons.
Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately, this internet fame has hit us by surprise.
Yes, absolutely.
We're getting all sorts of requests from, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you wear my Tommy Hilfiger shirt? And I'm like, listen.
Well, who is this? This is Valhalla.
Till Valhalla.
Till Valhalla, yeah. I actually like the way the shirts fit. But they have cool sayings. Like this one says, do good, be good in the back. So I try to give people a good message when I'm at the gym. Anyway, thank you everybody for coming back. Like I said, episode 101. The live episode went well from what I hear from the people who actually, you know, we had a decent amount of people who watched it live, and they said it sounded really good. Like it didn't sound like we were tryhards. What is that what the kids say? Tryhards?
Yeah, tryhard. Yeah,
you're a tryhard.
Yeah.
Like we didn't try hard. It just happened naturally.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard when you have a camera on you and you know people are going to watch it and you know it's going to be out there. You know, even though you don't want it, your personality can change a bit. Like normal stuff that you don't do, you might do.
It's like talking in front of a crowd. Sometimes you get nervous and the mind locks and stuff like that.
Like if you go back to our original shows, I'm pretty sure you've seen our growth. Where
I was actually listening to episode 3 yesterday, and I listened to the whole thing driving around. I was just driving around doing a bunch of stuff, and it kept playing in my car. It's on my phone, so it would play every time my CarPlay hooked up. And I listened to it, and I actually said something. I go, I'm going to tell you something. I go, for episode 3, I go, it sounded fucking good. Like, we didn't sound like we were like,
we caught on quick.
Yeah, like it flowed. And I'm like,
good.
the content, I'm like, for episode 3, there was great content. We were talking about, you know, the mind and how you deal with emotions and urges when they come up, and, you know, not engaging that emotion when it comes, watch it, you know, like this train needs to slow down, allow it to kind of pass instead of trying to grab it. So I was like, that sounded pretty good. It didn't sound bad at all.
No,
actually.
dude. You know what? I'm going to say, bro, out of because obviously I've told this to you before.
I got to fix my chair.
You're the one that grew the most. Like, I thought I was pretty decent at being able to share.
Is that a fat joke?
You know, I thought I was pretty more natural and able to share my thoughts in front of a camera and just go blah blah. You know, I'm like
you're a caqueron.
Yeah, I'm a caqueron. And you,
that's a chatty Cathy.
Like you went from like a cocoon to like a butterfly. Like you so much so that during the episodes, I would want to do my usual, and you're like, bring it back. Bro, and I can't tell you how valuable that is. When you want to have a successful show where you want to stay on topic and not confuse the audience too much, because I'm sure we're guilty of confusing the audience a little bit.
Of course, yeah. It's
but man,
human
you
nature.
brought it back, and I'm like, bro, it took a minute to really.
That happens. I think that happens. I mean, and like that's part of the nature of when you're having an open conversation. I think that's going to happen.
Yeah. And you mentioned it when you saw other channels that did mindfulness, and you're like, bro, we're not bad compared to them, actually.
No, like I listen to a lot of good. I mean, somehow they get, you know, I don't know if they're tech savvy. They know how to reach people a little bit better than we did. But the content is the same. I mean, unless you're really talking about guys like Eckhart Tolle, who could talk about an hour about the same thing 100,000 times. and he just makes it. It still always sounds a little fresh. I don't know.
He
does it?
fills seats. You know,
He fills seats. Yeah. But like, yeah, there's plenty of shows, and I mean, this is tapping ourselves in the back. The content is very similar, but there's a natural ebb and flow, and that's normal. So we might go off on a little bit of a tangent. Like you might be sitting here going, "All right, you guys have been talking for 5 minutes, and what are you guys talking about today?"
we haven't even.
This is how we find out what we want to talk about by doing this, a little banter. Henry brought up a great. He said before, "What is the secret of life?" I said, "What do you want to talk about today?" Said, well, what is the secret of life? I go, you know what? That's not a bad idea. What is the secret of life? Does anybody out there know what's the secret of life? Is it to be happy? Is it to be a millionaire? Is it to be successful in life? Is it to be mindful and present? Is it to be uber religious and, go to church every Sunday and devote your life to the church? What is the secret of life?
I'm going to throw some stuff at the wall. I think the ambiguity of the question is part of the answer.
I like that.
You know what I mean? So like, as somebody could say, "Oh, it's to be the most as religious as possible." Oh, it's to be
as uber successful
as possible. It's to have 7 kids. Oh, it's to have this. So in reality, because you have so many options, just like religion, you have so many options.
Yes, like Baskin Robbins.
You pick. And just know that whatever it is, your physical time is finite. Do it well.
So and do it well. But even on top of that, strike a balance in life, or find that balance in life.
I hope my son is
find that yin and that yang in life. Find that place where you don't get taken from living life, no matter what you're trying to do, and get taken for a ride, or become so unconscious that you become so focused on what you want to do that everything else kind of falls wayside in life. And not to say it's a bad thing to be focused on a goal or if you want to accomplish something. No, that's where the human mind becomes an amazing tool, because it has the ability. Well, some people have a better ability to focus than others, but it has the ability to focus on where you want it. But striking that balance, for me, I would say striking the balance and doing something you're passionate about is the secret to life. It's not about what you end up accomplishing. It's not the check marks at the end of the day, right? It's not what you've done. It's how you've done it. So
the word balance comes up so much in your life, especially when it comes to important topics, that balance has to be a clue for us. It has to be. I mean, and I get nothing has or should, because then you kind of box yourself in. But
agreed. But
there's something to that word, the fact that it comes up in the most important of topics. So if you're sick, how do you feel when you're sick, right? So, if you're throwing up and, you're just diarrhea and you're just done, oh my God, there's no balance there. You've gone a whole one way and there's no balance. Then there's the other extreme. So you're rocking, you're probably, snorted a few lines of, roar, let's go. Well, hey, there's no balance, both of them unhealthy, when it comes to that.
Extremes.
I'm a hard worker. Fantastic. I'm a hard worker. Great. I work 12 hours a day. That's a lot, but good for you. I'm working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. All right, God bless. What happened? He croaked. No balance. There was no balance.
Well, the working 16 hours a day, right? That's the person who might turn around and tell you, their argument would be, but I've made $48 million. I'm a multi-millionaire. I own 14 houses, 34 cars. I don't have to worry about money. I have everything I want at my beck and call. My hard work paid off. Okay. In that aspect, it did, right? You obtained these riches by your hard work. That's great. But that's not balance. Balance is a centeredness in life. Do you actually have peace while you're on your journey, right? Balance provides one thing and one thing only, peace in life. And for people out there who understand what the word peace actually means, it means a serenity, a centeredness, a unification with something greater than us. It's a place where you could be productive and yet not get lost in that production, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
And the production could be anything. It doesn't have to be work. Could be sports. Could be social life. Could be I'm a social media influencer, but I'm on here 24/7, 365. I'm posting constantly, but I got 14 million people who love me. Is it? Yeah, but you're a slave to this now. Where's your balance in life? Do you are you making it about only accomplishing, or are you making it about finding a place where you can be productive and yet still be whole and like have a connectedness to something that's a little bit more, that's not as shallow as just accomplishing tasks, right? That's why when I say like what the secret to life isn't to be the best. And that's great if you couldn't be the best at something. Yeah. But that's not, like, at the end of the day, this is how I see it, right? I don't want to speak for everybody else, but I can tell you from my experience and from things I've gone through, and I'm sure Henry agrees, from the way we live our lives, it's the how, not the what you've done. At the end of the day, when you measure your life in, hopefully 70, 80 years, when you're old and gray and you're at that point where, those last few breaths are coming, you could look back and say, no matter what was happening in life, I was always able to find that balance in life, that place where I was able to have that work ethic or that drive and, that drive to accomplish something, but yet at the same time, not lose my values, not lose that peace, that inner peace, that thing inside of you that says, we're doing it at the right pace. We're actually present. We're watching it as it's happening. We're experiencing it as it happens, but experiencing by paying attention to it as it happens and not just doing it.
I have a peculiar case. It's the case of Henry Beltra. The case
is that a medical diagnosis?
It's a medical diagnosis. I am to be studied because I am the guy who I can see myself. I can feel myself. And you've seen me. I'll go on certain topics and I'll go off on a tangent and then I'll stop. It's like, yo, you lost your way. No, I didn't. No, I just had to get that out. And I'm good. It's the weirdest thing. And I do that a lot, often. And I'm like, I'm totally aware. I am going off on a tangent right now.
So why, can I ask you a question? Why do you go off on that tangent then?
It's like other forces take over. Like, yeah, just got to do this. Just got to do this. And then, when I realize, that's it. Don't go anymore.
Okay, but so a follow-up question. When those other forces take over and you go on your tangent for 2-3 minutes, right? Because your tangents are very, very, very small nowadays. Yeah.
The old ones.
Yeah, the other ones would be 45 minutes before the pre-show, and I'd just sit there and watch you. It's another 2 or 3 minutes.
That's true.
Kudos. The man has come a tremendously long way.
That's right.
When those other forces take over, after they leave you, it makes it sound like you're possessed. After those 2-3 minutes are over, and you're watching, and you go, all right, that's enough. How do you? I'm going to say feel. I don't know if that's the right word or not, but how do you feel about it? Like, are you sitting there going,
"Nah,
well, that was pointless," or are you sitting there going, "That felt good"?
Sometimes both.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think there's really no right or wrong answer.
Sometimes both. Like just a few minutes ago, talking about.
You were doing it upstairs a little bit.
The situation at my son's school. Yeah. I'm like, what is this? And then I'm done.
Well, so there's nothing wrong with voicing an opinion on something. Like, that's part of life. I mean, we need to. I mean, even Jesus Christ voices opinion on things. I mean, that's the human part of us.
But not let it affect you to the point.
That's the difference.
And you could tell that it's almost like I need to just do a little vomiting right here so I don't carry it with me and I don't let it, rattle in my brain for more than it has to.
But is the vomiting that you're doing, and this is part of striking that balance in life, right? Like that's the secret sauce. Like if you could strike that balance, now you're not vomiting just to vomit, but you're doing it with a purpose. Or when you vomit, when you go in your 2-3 minute tangents, right? Because it's something that as we all have bias and pet peeves and things we don't like that's happening, and we see things in the world and we're like, that makes no sense, and it's like insane that that's actually still happening. But when you're going through those 2 or 3 minutes of it afterwards, do you feel like, I say, you're not doing it with the intention of complaining, or you're doing it with the intention of, I want to voice this because it really is an issue, and like, it needs to be heard.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to sit here and go, this is the worst. Do you believe it? Because that could go. So let's say this is the balance right in the middle where the tree is, and you're coming over and you're giving you're giving your opinion on something because it is an issue, but now it spills over into complaining and it keeps going and keeps going.
Okay, good.
But that's where you have that balance, because you say you're able to see it and then drop.
Yeah. I'm able to drop it before we get
to the complaining part.
I pass the tree, but I don't go over there. Like as I approach the tree, I realize I'm right at the tree. And then I go a little more and then I come back.
Well, you might be better off for doing that. You might be, and I'll tell you why, because there are times where I try to be so zen that I won't say anything. And I don't repress it. I literally just allow it to go. I'm like, just go, because almost like, what's the point of even saying it? Because it's not going to affect anything right now. But there's probably a little bit of a block there on my part, maybe. Even, well, there is a point, there is a place where, and that's where knowing that balance is important, but it's important to say something right now. Like, so when you do it, it's not the worst thing in the world, especially if you're doing it at the right time when it has an impact. It's an impactful thing that you're saying at the right moment because that person needs to hear it, as opposed to just, banter because you want to just tell your buddy, do you believe the idiots that these people, or whatever, the insanity, or do you, because that could easily just become
that
so
I think
whatever that
I think what happens, and this is probably true of most people's journeys, I think what ends up happening is that we have these old roads that we paved. We used to travel down those old roads all the time. Matter of fact, those were the roads that we used to use every single day. And then we carved out some new roads.
Sure.
And those new roads are better. Those new roads are easier. But we still take a ride on the old expressway just to kind of say, hey.
Well, those neural pathways don't disappear.
So I think there's some of that going on. And that's fine, as long as I feel like I'm not going to a place where I completely upset myself and I work myself into a frenzy.
No, because then you've lost that balance.
And I think
you've tipped the scales.
I think because I can see myself approaching the frenzy zone, like, all right, drop it right here, go back.
And go back.
And then I do, but like, it's the weirdest thing. Why would I even do that? Why would I go into
and I think that's the question I was trying to allude to, is why even, so as I'm saying, there needs to be that point where you understand, here's where that makes an impact when I say it, as opposed to, where it's not going to make an impact. And 99% of the people that I speak to on a daily basis, it's not made impactfully. It's just, it's vomiting and it's when you look and go, all right, so when people look at me and they're like, I just want peace in my life. I want to find the balance. I'm like, well, it starts with you. Like the balance, the secret to life, the balance starts with us. Nobody on the outside is going to help you have balance in life. If you're a religious person, I don't want to say religious because I put people in a box. If you're a spiritual person and you believe and you have a faith in God and a connection to God or the universe and a connection to Jesus Christ, like I do. I'm not a religious person as far as box religion, but I have a very deep connection with Jesus and God. And I've said it, they've always been there my whole life. But I'm not a religious person, because when I try to find my balance, if that is a portal that you use to find that, to get that balance, that's fine. But that could go askew on you also, and you could go to the point where you lose the flexibility where you could find that inner peace. So like if somebody uses that as a way to have inner peace, that's great. Like your connection to something greater than you. Or if it's mindfulness, which is the same exact thing, really is, just different words or presence or consciousness or whatever you want to use. Like those are all tools that help you stay centered.
Yeah.
But it starts with you. It's how you implement them.
It's always you.
Because the mind will come back in and will take it and try to manipulate it for an agenda of one way or another. Whether it's you talking about something and you feel like I'm crossing the line and I'm vomiting it, or somebody talking about a spiritual thing like God or Jesus or some sort of spirituality, a deity, and they go to the point where now it's not about that anymore, but now they're making a case for something else. You need to prove something else. That podcast I was watching, I was telling Anthony about it because he's the one who sent it to me. I liked it. The thing that got me was even there, I think they lose their balance. They're centered because they're trying to prove it. And by trying to prove it, now you need to know that this is this way so you could feel centered and balanced. Okay, but see what your mind's doing? Like even in something as benign as that and beautiful as that, right? What they're trying to do is something beautiful and something
they didn't do it on purpose, perhaps.
Exactly, but it's amazing to see how the mind still takes it and goes. So when you're speaking and you're saying, oh, I'm, whatever I'm complaining about, I'm going about this, but I'm watching myself go over. Well, when you're watching yourself go over that line and you're watching it happen, why even allow it to happen? Like even there, like the mind is taking control. Go, well, I'm going to give you my agenda. And then you're like, all right, that's enough. We're going to come back.
Because I'm giving my ego just enough snacks to keep it alive. It's just a snack for my ego. What do you think?
I get that.
What do you think?
I get that. I totally get that. My take on that, and this is, again, what works for me might not work for everybody. Somebody might have a different avenue that works better for them. I don't even like to give my ego a crumb, and I'll tell you why. Because my ego is like me with potato chips. If I have one, the whole fucking bag is gone.
Well,
because my ego will take that and it'll want to, and then it's going to go, but I want more, and I want more, and I want more. I starve it instead, but it's very easy for me to starve it. I watch that first impulse come, and I let it go, and immediately after that, a wave of a warm fuzzy feeling comes behind it because I didn't even engage. I didn't allow that wave to even crest. I came off of it. So I'm not going to ride it at all, because once you ride the wave, now you're going to come down on the other side of it. If you're a surfer, once you're on a wave, there's no going back over it. You got to ride it and it's going to crest over you and you got to get off underneath it. And it's kind of that same thing. So if you want that,
I'm
that
emotion
balance,
surfing.
Yeah, your emotion. And I choose not to surf. And again, the emotions come. I'm not holding anything down. God knows they come. When they come, I just say, I'll take a step back and I'll watch them go. Because for me, the more I engage in it, even willingly, and if I say, I'm going to give this to my mind because that's actually it's the ego coming in the back door. And that's where it starts to, again, dig its feet in a little bit and try to take that, because it doesn't want you to be a balanced person.
Reclaim territory.
The ego, which is a thinking mind, doesn't want you to be balanced. It wants to be in control. It wants to control the narrative at all times. And when you give it that window and go, I'll let you go.
Yeah.
You're going to let me go?
Okay. Leash.
You know what happens is, then it remembers, he let me go. He let me go 10 seconds last time. Now he's going to let me go 15.
Right.
And before you know it, 3 months from now, you're complaining for 20, 30 minutes or whatever it might be, and you're going off the deep end with things again.
That is it. That is it for me. So then once I realized that now we're in the, we went from, was it green to yellow? Once we're in the yellow zone, that's when I start to say, all right, let's go back to the old, like you. I don't even let those thoughts take hold. Right there, I drop it.
And look, and we always preface, unless it's necessary, right? You could be in a situation where it's necessary,
correct, to
engage that bias. It isn't about not voicing your opinion on things, but even when you're voicing your opinion, you could do it consciously. You could do it with an awareness. You could do it, however you want to phrase it, whatever words you want to use.
I'll tell you. Look, here's another example. Minutes ago, so there was two things I was complaining about. One was the situation at my son's school, and the other one was the Easy Pass.
Both very frustrating. Don't get me wrong.
You watch
on a
me,
human level,
right?
Yeah.
You watch me wait 40-something minutes to get a live body. When I got that live body, it was as if I'm talking to the wall.
What did my wife say?
Saying,
they're useless. Her exact words. She goes, "Yeah, they're all useless."
Useless.
Yeah.
So the old me would have loved to harp until it's dead, until the horse is dead.
Yeah, but then what are you left with? What do you?
But I caught that.
Yeah,
I caught it early
you did.
on.
No. You
because
did.
the old me would have still been up there. We wouldn't have been here.
No, I know.
You know.
I know exactly. But and that's where that balance is struck. It's in the awareness never goes away. Right.
So you mentioned something that you watched that thing that Anthony sent.
Lee Strobel. That's his name. Hey, guys, it comes to you. Give me a minute.
Yeah,
it comes to me.
Yeah. Eventually, it comes.
Yeah, the mind's not sharp as it used to be.
Trust me, I had the same. But you mentioned that I'm going to call it documentary.
Yeah, it was a 3-hour. Which one? The podcast?
What Anthony sent you?
Yeah, it was a podcast. It was a podcast actually.
So there's
something. Find the name of it.
There's something where
give props.
This is where having a sharp.
Lee Strobel and John Burke. It was called The Resurrection, the Sean Ryan show. Have you heard Sean Ryan? No.
But this is something where that balance, that if you have it and you're aware of it, and you're also aware of things that can take you off balance,
sure,
just like we just discussed right now. So there's something that Scott Adams, again citing Scott Adams, he referenced it, and I know I've referenced it here before. He says there's something called the documentary effect. And documentary effect is, I just watched this 3-hour thing. And the purpose may not be intended or whatever, but the purpose of the reason they put that out is so you could also say,
well, it's for you to, it gives.
They're right.
They're right. Yeah. Your mind will create a story to why they're right or they're wrong or whatever they were talking about.
So if
we can get into that.
If you were to watch the documentary of the other side of the coin, where
they can make
Jesus was a fictional character.
I'm sure there's ones out there.
A useful fictional character.
I'm sure they're out there.
Right? And then you'd finish watching that documentary.
You might believe it.
And you'd be like, this negates the other one. But don't stop there. Now there's another one that's going to be like, no.
I like where you're going with this.
It was true. Let me show you. So all those things they said, but you're like, oh my God. Yeah, you're right. So this happened with Michael Jackson. So if you watch one Michael Jackson documentary, for sure.
He was a pedophile, and he was.
And then there's another documentary like, guys, nope.
Well,
this guy was weird. This guy was abused, and he could have been anything you want, but he was not. As a matter of fact, we have all this data. Look at this video.
That is not true.
Right? So every time you watch a documentary, if you are not aware of your balance, you're going to go where the documentary takes you.
Again, yeah.
That is it.
Oh, okay. Because that happened to me with this.
But that is it. But because you're aware of your balance, you came away. So at the first feeling you get is, wow. But then you step back and you're aware of your balance. Be like, okay.
So I'll tell you exactly what happened with me with this. And look, and for those of you that know me, know. And my daughter tells me, like, if I ever say something, she's funny. She'll be like, "Dad, I thought you were more Zen than that." Like, I try to live a very balanced life, and I try to be very aware. So I watched this. I listened to 3 hours. I didn't do it in one shot because it's a lot in one shot. I did it in like two. I did a few walks around my block, like in 3 different sections. So I did it over a day and a half. Listen to the whole podcast, right? I thought it was very well done. The guys made a great case. I'm all for a lot of things that they said anyway. For me, my personal knowing, I don't even say belief system. I know that it's for me. I know it's true, but that's just for me. But at the end of it, when they were done, I felt exactly what you said. Like I went from knowing to giddy. Like, oh, you see, this is like I felt it coming up, and it wasn't for me. And like, if I'm talking to somebody who's religious, I'd be like, so why are you denying it? I'm like, I'm not. I'm paying attention to my mind running off with it right now.
This is a healthy.
And instead I said, okay, I lose my balance if I go completely and not it's not about believing it or not believing it or whatever the facts are that they made. I stick with, take my mind out of it for a second, and I close my eyes and I go, what do I know? Now, what do I know knowledge-wise? Because the knowledge part of it is what makes you go, you see what they're telling me? Information. In my head, your mind makes a case for why it's right or why it's wrong. That's what your mind's going to do all the time. Your mind is right 50% of the times, wrong 50% of the times. Because what you're being fed, is it 100% true? Or is it, we don't know, and maybe you got to fill in the rest of yourself. So you could go down rabbit holes upon rabbit holes. I started going down rabbit holes. At one point, they were talking about demons on the show and how, satanic things and people who were visited by angels and demons. And these are stories they were given. If I tell you, for the rest of that day, all my mind wanted to do was go down rabbit holes. Was a demon talking to me? Was this was I being trying to, that's what my mind wanted to create a narrative of. And I knew a lot of it is my obsessive mind, the way it likes to think anyway. But it started, I saw how it started a story which wasn't fucking there the day before. Yeah, the story wasn't there. It was not there. Like, my faith in God did not grow. My faith in God, my knowing of God and Jesus Christ and my connect, it didn't grow or become less. But I noticed my mind wanted to go down rabbit holes upon rabbit holes upon rabbit holes and say, oh, maybe I should try to figure this out. And maybe I should try to figure this. I actually picked up my phone at one point and my mind wanted to Google something. And I went, whoa, no. Nope. I know what I know. I feel it did.
Wow.
It did. So like when you're saying about Michael Jackson or whatever documentary, like the documentary effect, it's so true. You'll lose your balance even in something as benign as beautiful as what these guys were talking about. Like, they were talking about something that's amazing and gives people joy and love and makes people live a moral, beautiful life, and knowing that somebody loves us and takes care of us and, has nurtured us for eons and whatever, right? Even that, you could become so enamored by it that your mind will be like, you're all wrong, we're right. Like that whole, where I love to say our last pope that passed just now said it best. I don't care if you're Hebrew, if you're Muslim, they all point to the same direction, right? And that's actually a very aware, enlightened, especially for a religious pope, a person of his stature and his.
He's supposed to be the leader.
To come out and say that's very unifying amongst all. Yeah, he's supposed to be you're supposed to be our guy. Like, why are you telling them that they're all point our guy? No, I thought that was a very.
He's hedging his bets.
He's hedging his bets. Just in case.
He knew.
Just in case.
He knew. Just in case.
Just in case. But even that shows somebody could look across that and say, okay, the stories are the stories are the stories. But how easily your mind could get dragged into one.
So
and you lose, and you literally, your scale does this. Boom.
So you have.
I thought it was hysterical.
You have way more psychology experience than me, but because you've been to therapy longer than I have. I know I went to therapy for not even a year.
Yeah, I did a few years, but
it was tragic.
It was
and it was tragic.
Yeah, no,
because I never bumped into my Dr. Tatiana. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I never bumped into that, but.
Somebody put me there for a reason.
But here's what I think happens psychologically. I think what happens is that our biases, our ego's biases, tend to bind with what we're looking at. And when that connection is made, the dopamine comes.
Yeah.
And so all you have is connection, dopamine, and you feel so right. You feel so right. Everything is reinforced.
Yeah.
So you walk out of there like you're a know-it-all. You walk out of there like, yep, I'm right. And there's nothing telling you you're right, right?
Yeah. Where's the balance there?
You went off.
You went off.
Yeah, you went off. And it's not negating. I'm not advocating for or against. I'm simply saying we have to watch ourselves and have that balance, because I can tend to probably go a little too much. And then before you know it, I slipped on a bar of soap and I am back to my old ways where I'm 45 minutes into a diatribe of, can you believe And this is the fifth time I'm telling you this, and you're like, all right, bro, I heard it the first 4 times, but all right, let's hear it again. You know? And that's where you're in a healthy spot where you can sort of autocorrect.
You notice it happening.
That's it.
You notice it happening.
So the fact that you don't do it is fine, but the fact that you can autocorrect and notice it happen, and like, okay, well, I'm not saying it's better, but it's a good spot. It's a good spot where you don't fly off anymore. And when you watch these documentaries, enjoy them. I'm not saying don't watch them, enjoy them, but just know that every coin has 2 sides. And
somebody will make a case for the other side, I'm sure. They wanted to.
And that is a good practice for our own.
It's not, and the really big balance part of it is you don't need to justify why you know what you know and whatever. Say my take is this on that. I don't need to justify what everybody I speak to, because once I do that, that's the mind and the ego going, look, I'm right. Look, I'm right. It's like the religious person coming and shoving it down your throat, being
that's
like,
right.
and believe me, I try to live my life like by what would Jesus do, like because it's really is the way. And I have a deep faith and a deep connection with God and those powers that be, and because I felt them in my life plenty of times. But and I've been struggling with this the last 4 or 5 days since I listened to this. And we talked about this after the 100th episode. I'm like, Henry, and I even said it during the 100th episode, I think I want to pivot a little bit. And I'm like, and then I got stuck. Where do I want to pivot to? Like, do I want to pivot to become a preacher? Like, kind of? Because like, but that's not what something didn't feel like, it wasn't a mental thought that said it's not right, or something just doesn't feel right about preaching. Like I want to speak about what I know and how I live my life, like we do on the show, or like I do with people. And maybe I could include more of that, but my mind wanted to originally, when it like, okay, so how do we do this now? How do I tell people about Jesus more? And I'm like, by doing this. And by doing what I'm doing now, I can show you and teach you and tell you, living the way we live, being mindful, aware, conscious people is exactly, if you read the Bible, by the way, if you read the Bible, that's what it says in the Bible. Like I read it to you before. Here, I'll read it to everybody. This is actually a quote from the Bible, which tells you, if you're a religious person, you go to church, I implore you. I think that's great. Community is awesome. That's all beautiful. But like, that's not how you get into heaven if people think that. This is from the Bible itself. It goes, not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, shall enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name? Have cast out demons in your name and done many wonders in your name. And then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you practice lawlessness. That basically means, I don't care if you go around preaching about me, live like me. And that's why what we do here, which is why we're passionate about staying with this, is because this is how you live that life in the name of Jesus, in the name of God, and however you want to phrase it. But that's how you live that life that I think we were put here to live, or he wants us to live. Let's just say.
So, unfortunately for us, living in this terrestrial world and living in, on Earth, USA, our neck of the woods, you're always pigeonholed as to what you know, how you learn it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I agree.
Everybody around you is working with the same boxed thinking. When we do this, if you notice, we were always careful about calling it universal. We didn't call it God. We didn't call it Jesus. We never made reference. Well, it would come up because what we're talking about is exactly what a church would be talking about, except we don't give it a person. We don't give it a name, because we can take what we're discussing here and let's say, instead of, because you and I grew up kind of similar in the sense, even though you're Italian and I was Spanish, we were still Roman Catholics. We still went
Yeah.
to Catholic school. We still had Catholic parents with
Yeah,
Catholic
yeah.
upbringing. I went to Catholic everything.
Yeah, so did I, right through high school, college.
But let's flip the script. Let's put ourselves, say we were Jewish and we grew up in the Jewish household with the Jewish tradition. We could still be talking about mindfulness, and it would still apply the basis of the religion, because the basis of the religion, I don't care the religion, is to have this awareness, to have this mind. I think this is the uncovering of how to act in a religion. This is why religion exists. Again, this is my take on it.
Yeah.
Religion exists so that the masses can understand how to have a aware, mindful, how do I say,
Originally,
sympathetic,
I think originally, yes, maybe. Yeah.
sympathetic
Yeah.
approach. Because if we let, again, who's we? I don't know, but somebody had to start somewhere. If we let the masses just run amok, there is, first of all, with people in this corner of the world, there's nothing that unites them or binds them aside from government. But we all know not everybody gets along in government, because I think black, you think white, he thinks 3, I think 5, and we never get along. But there was a uniting factor in religion. And that's how you kind of brought everybody together. And hey, watch it.
Very true.
Watch it. There's codes and there's rules. Okay.
Yeah.
And if, watch it because he's, and we all point upstairs.
The codes and the rules is where the balance is lost, but if you ask me. In the way I look at it.
But that's where the tailspin spins off.
Yeah.
So if there is a universal order to things, and I have this discussion with my
I'm
son.
a very big believer, and I don't even like the word believer. I know I could tell you, I know there is a universal order.
I love this discussion because my son
Things
is
make
aerospace engineer.
Yeah.
And I learned the other day with him that we are, even though we're a solar system, with the 9 planets plus the sun and the moon, and everything is spinning symbiotically, right, in its own way. Believe it or not, in this black space called space, we're actually spinning, and we're not in the same area of the black space. So it's not like we're spinning and we're staying.
No.
We're spinning and we're moving. And I'm saying it's incredible that as big as you think the world is, we don't even have a clue as to how big that black shoebox is that we're
the black
floating
shoebox technically should have no end, because then what's on the other side of the black shoebox?
in. The simulators.
The simulators.
The simulords.
And what's on the other side of the simulords?
The simulords. God.
And
Buddha. You follow me? Like, that's why we always point up.
Yes.
Because up is good, down is bad. Watch what you do, because you don't want to go there. You want to go there.
Yes.
So
Agreed.
These are the boxes. These are the boxes. That's why I said, unfortunately for us, we have these boxes. But everybody around us, and the way to effectively communicate to people is by respecting those boxes.
Absolutely.
So that's how we respect the boxes. But I think where we make a little inroad is to tell them, independent of your box and the universal.
They all point the same.
Yes.
They should. Technically, they all do point to the same area.
So this is a uniter in that your religion can walk down this road comfortably. Your religion can walk down this road comfortably. Your religion can walk down this road. Because,
doesn't matter.
Because this is the universal road. This is the universal lens.
Yes, there is. There is. And that's why us using the word universal has always been wasn't a slight or a throwing shade to a religion. It was because it's trying to unite across the lines and be like, the lines don't even exist. Right. They're not there. We created those lines, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with the lines. But we created those lines. Man did, because that's what man does, right? Man creates a box, a line. Right. Watch this. Like the way we're speaking right now about this is the lines are fictional. They actually are not there. We think they're actually there. But they all go to the same, they all point to the same thing. Something makes this all happen, right? And the word God is the first word that we all know. So that's the word that most people use. And Jesus Christ and what he went through. This isn't to make a case for or against it. But if you like, if for me, if I close my eyes or if I just look around the world, if I look outside, I look at a tree, I look at a bee pollinating a flower, I look at the animals that were given to this planet for us to sustain ourselves, like the way a tree's leaves, tree's branches grow a certain way. If you look on the ground, the tree's roots grow the same way.
Yeah.
If you look at your veins, our arteries and our veins our hands mimic what's on a palm of the leaf. If you turn over a leaf and you put a leaf next to your hand, look at the lines in a leaf. They are, while not identical, they are almost the same as the lines in our hands. Like the similarities are almost okay. That's why I always say I know there's something greater, because coincidence is one thing, happenstance is one thing. This is orchestrated. Like this is some smart ass like order. Like there's an order to this that we can't understand. And trying to understand it is where the lines come. Trying to understand it and say, well, I have the knowledge and here I need the facts. You lose I think people lose sight of what's actually happening.
I want to be provocative right now.
Yeah, please.
And you're going to say, yep.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist. It's just a coincidence. But you still, the guy who thinks it's all coincidence, it doesn't exist. It's all fake. As long as you live aware, mindfully, you're allowed that space, because your interaction with everybody, and if you're aware, you have a balance. You just choose to say, you know, John, that story's nice. I like how you compare.
Yeah, I mean, that really depends who you talk to. That depends who you talk to. Some people are going to tell you, but then you won't enter the kingdom of heaven because you're not acknowledging that Jesus Christ lived.
Those are the boxes.
Yeah.
Those are the boxes. Those are the boxes that people like us say, put that down. Don't worry about that. Keep respecting. I haven't disrespected anybody. You keep doing you, because it is a great moral code. It is a great code for life. I could see that since you've been more into your religion, your complaints have been reduced. I can tell you have more control over your emotions.
I will say one thing. I think the person, I'll just use the word like an atheist. Let's just say an atheist believes that, has no belief, believes that there is no God. Everything is like the Big Bang Theory, just the world just appeared one day through evolution and all that. There is no God. There are no deities at all. Right? If you're agnostic, you go, well, I don't know if there is a God. I don't know if there's not a God. You're waiting to be. If you're a theist, like that's where I kind of say I am. That means I believe in a divine power. I just don't need to
give it a name.
I don't need to. No, I don't want to assign to a certain religion, like the Episcopalian, Protestant, Roman Catholic. I don't assign to the boxes, but I step over the boxes and I go, but I'm connected to something greater.
Right.
The person who does connect to a higher consciousness, and that's where an atheist, I don't think, has this, because they don't believe in that. Right? They can still live a moral code.
Yes.
They can live a moral life.
You can walk this,
but they don't connect to that thing that's greater than.
Perhaps.
And that's where, for me, manifestation does happen, because if you speak to, you're spoken back to. So if I'm not speaking to anything, means I'm not talking to God, or I'm not talking to Jesus, or I'm not talking to Allah, or I'm not talking to Yahweh, if I'm not talking to this divine power, I think then you're just kind of, and you can still live a very moral, good life, but I think you miss a part of the beauty of actually interacting with the universe. Because like somebody who doesn't believe is not going to interact with the universe. They look at it as a void. They look at it, well, there's nothing there. I'm here in the flesh and blood, and I'm here. And that's if you're like a real atheist.
A real atheist.
A real atheist. Like there's people who say they're atheists. Oh, I don't believe in God. But then you pray when shit goes wrong, or you say there's something that does guide the world. So no, you're not really an atheist. You're more of you might be agnostic or a theist at best. Like where I say I am. But if you really want to, like that, even Eckhart Tolle, right? He doesn't talk about being religious.
No.
Speaks about God, speaks about Jesus. But what does he say he connects to? There is a higher intelligence, a singular consciousness. That's another word for God.
That's but that's good. I like that.
But that's how, that's where I say it's not just about living a moral life, which we implore everybody should do. But I think you could do that and live a very nice life on earth, and all that's beautiful. But if you don't connect, if you don't try to connect to that one consciousness or the word God or universal power, whichever word jives with you, or Jesus Christ, if you don't connect with that, I think you miss out on the give and take that the universe can give you and is willing to give you and will put you in certain positions to get certain things. If you think everything is just happenstance, that's a little, for me, I think you're missing out on something now.
The singular consciousness is nice. I like that because
But that's just another word.
I know, but I like
Yeah.
the thought of it, because there you can see that all boxed religions can live in a singular consciousness.
What word brings you peace?
Right, you pick it.
Yeah.
And that's what it is.
Yeah. What word brings you peace?
But I like the sound and the thought of it, because singular consciousness to me feels like an umbrella where we all fit. We all fit under the umbrella, and it's independent of, because
We're all under the umbrella.
no, because like if I disagree,
You want to be, I guess.
if I disagree with a Catholic on certain things, like if I stand here and say, you know, I believe that the story of Jesus could have been real. What do you could have been? Could have been. I'm not going to argue if it is or it isn't. It could have been, and
Yeah, but you could still even,
and that's good enough for me. That's good enough for me. I love that figure. What do you mean the figure? He's, you understand?
Yeah, I mean, people.
I don't want to get caught up in
People
that.
say, yeah.
I want to get caught up in under the umbrella,
Yeah.
because I'm with you under the umbrella, and you believe there was, and I believe, well, you know, it's.
Well, I always say this. So, does and we use the Roman Catholic, the resurrection, all that for like, these are how atheists need to prove it. Like, these guys, they were atheists. Lee Strobel was an atheist. He needed to prove. I actually watched the movie, The Case for Christ, where he goes and he has to prove that Jesus Christ, like, it happened. He rose from the dead, and they went through the archaeological part of it and how historians they took the writings and they compared them, and they used certain methods to say, hey, these writings were found over a certain amount of time. And it's a very compelling case for it. Like, when you look at the facts, there is a compelling case for it. I'm not going to say there isn't. There is, because there's more. Like, we believe in things like, there's the Iliad, which is the Greek, it's like the Greek Bible, one of the first Greek Bibles. There's the amount of time between when they thought it was written to the first writings of it is X amount of time. Like, the Bible was very close. The writings were very close to when this happened. And the amount of writings that have been found, like, amazingly is exponentially larger than any other historical writing. So whether there's a case there or not, but I'm going to say, I don't need to be wooed by that to say, I believe in this higher.
That's it.
And that's it. That's where I say, like,
that's it.
You could even if you're a believer of God or whatever deity you want to use, you could get lost and lose your balance because you become so fixated that now you have no wiggle room to navigate through life. And now, because you're so heavy on this side and you're laden yourself with all these rules and all these regulations and all these other things that, by the way, have nothing to do with
the way it has been evolving
the way it's
through
evolved.
the years.
Yes.
Yeah. Because you could totally make the case that, there's this building called a church, and people can go there and feel good and feel like they're one.
And praise the Lord, God.
And I love that.
It's great.
At the same time that I love that, I can sort of say, I don't really believe that there was this guy called Jesus, but I love the entire story, and I love what I'm feeling, and I love what it's doing to everybody in here right now. I think both can exist, but we've been always taught about these boxes. I'm like, no. Like, the same way, imagine I'm about to go burn in hell somewhere. I could walk into a foreign religion, temple, whatever, synagogue, you name it, wherever it is that are foreign, a Hindu temple. Why can't I walk into a Hindu temple, watch everybody praying and having the same feeling that I have in my Catholic church, but I'm not Hindu? And I could feel that.
Yeah.
And I could feel that goodness. I could feel that beauty. I could feel, but I'm not Hindu. And I don't even know what's going on here, but I feel it. That's
Those people get the same feeling that somebody would if they go to church. And
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the universal conscious. That's why I'm saying that I like that term a lot, because that connects all of us. And then we stop with the, well, you know, yours is really not as real as mine, and you know that's what they believe. Because then you get into what the Pope right before he died. You know, I don't care what religion. I don't care who's waiting for me up there.
They all point. It all points to the same. It all points in the same direction.
That's it. That's the bottom line. That's why it's universal. You name it. You know, some people believe in whatever. That's not. I don't want to talk about the boxes. I want to tear down the walls of the boxes, and it's universal. Just live a mindful, present. If you just live mindfully, we don't even have to know each other's religion.
No,
we don't have to know it.
No, that's the whole point of this. That's where that balance is struck. That's where this universal way of looking at it isn't to discredit anybody's faith in anything, right? So, like I said, my faith is I'm connected to something greater. Like I've always said, it speaks to me in ways I can't explain, but I leave it at that. I don't need to. The more I try to figure out why, the more confused I get about it. So I dumb it down again, because like if I want to help people find peace in life, I'm going to do it with the tools that I have accessible to me. And for me, these are the tools that I can use and you could use to help people find that balance in their lives, right? And if I have to use the word God when I'm speaking to somebody because it resonates with them, because that's a word that resonates with me, that's great. But if I know that you're not a God Roman Catholic person, but I still want to show you how you could connect to something greater than, right? Something that's all good, all loving. Like that's what it's all about, right? You read the Bible, what? Love. It's all about love, loving each other, caring for each other. If I could show you how to do that by disassociating yourself from those thoughts, not paying attention to the narrative in your mind that things have to be or should.
You can't go wrong with that.
You can't go wrong with that. You can't, and you're actually doing what
Jesus said.
What Jesus wants you to do. Like that's exactly what. Hey, if Jesus wants you to love each other, he wants to find the lost sheep, right? I was talking to Anthony today, and then we'll wrap it up. We're at the gym, and because he loves this stuff, right? And I do too. Like I'm intrigued by all these stuff that he's been throwing at me. Like, it's cool to listen to.
And I love playing devil's advocate.
Yeah. So we were talking, and one of the he was talking about a picture that is where there's Jesus holding. I've seen it on the internet too. There's a sheep up on a hill, and there's Jesus holding back a bunch of wolves. It's actually really cool. Like it's a cool poster you want to hang in your basement because it's a powerful message, right? And the podcast I listen to by Lee Strobel, like they talk about a lot of people who had these like my Camarado, who had that near-death experience, and he said he got all these things were told to him about how life is, and his experience, and other people say they saw Jesus and this and that and the other thing. And I looked at Anthony and I said one thing to him. I go, he's a very religious person, right? And I say, why do people who have these near-death experiences, I go, pay attention to the kind of person that is, the ones who have them. I don't know of any in my life who are uber religious people who had them. They're usually people who were lost, meaning they didn't believe, they didn't care to believe, or they were going through something, or they were going down a wrong path. And they were shown something to kind of bring them back to it. And I say, you know why guys like you and me maybe don't get that? Because we're not the lost sheep. We're trying to implement whatever this, like mindfulness. Like for me, I speak through it through mindfulness. You speak through it through mindfulness, through awareness, through let's not let your thoughts take you on a ride. Like connect to something greater in yourself, whether it's through meditation. Why those people have these experiences? Because whatever this consciousness is, I know this has nothing to do with it, but it was really cool. And he's like, wow, he goes, I never thought of it that way. He goes, you're right. I go, Pay attention to that universal power that's calling to you. And sometimes it smacks you in the face, right? Going back to what we said before, like that person who has no faith at all in anything, or doesn't believe in, or doesn't connect to something greater than himself, or it's just the egoic mind. So basically, he could be a nice person, but the ego is in control 100%. Right. I am whatever my mind says I am, right? That person's the lost sheep. They're the people who, okay, but there's something out there, something that is around us, with us at all times, that you could connect to, and it could bring you peace in your life. It could help you find your way, whether it's through religion, not through religion, through meditation, through going to a Zen monastery. I mean, the avenues are there's a plethora of them. Whichever one you want to take, you could take, but don't become that lost sheep where it's I am my mind and I'm only my mind. Like, this is it. What I see, what I think is what I am, and that's it. Like, doubting Thomas, who won't believe, so I put my finger in the, like, if that's who you are, maybe you will get a knock on the door one day. Or maybe the universe will, like it did to me. I didn't want to listen, so what did it do to me? It put me in hell. It literally, it put me in hell.
It backhanded you.
Yeah, for me to wake up and say, you need to disconnect from this thing in your head because it's going to destroy you if you don't. I don't know where that came from, but.
And I hate to put you on the spot, but connect the dots for me from the painting of Jesus holding back the wolves.
Yeah. The wolves basically are supposed to be like the demons.
Okay.
And they were trying to get to the lost sheep. Okay. So it's that, like Michael said in it, he goes, there is and I've heard this a lot, right? And I don't know if it's true or not true. Like, I can't even sit here and say it is true or not true. Like, they say there's a battle of good and bad going on in the universe, and that we don't know, because that
resonates with me.
It does resonate, but I can honestly say I don't know if it's true because I'm not meant to know if it's true.
That's it.
But I side on this side. Like, I live my life this way. Yeah. Anyway, so it's supposed to be the evil trying to get to the lost sheep before Jesus could get to the lost sheep and say, "Come with me." Love, kindness, care. I love you and I'll always love you. I'm always here for you. Because if the demons get to the sheep, they kill the sheep and they take the sheep on their side. So it's him. It's supposed to be a picture. It's supposed to be like, Jesus holding back the evil and trying to get to the sheep to save the sheep.
That's the symbolism.
The symbol is, I'm going to save you by holding back the demons and the evil. I think if I could find it, I'd probably put it somewhere because it's just a powerful picture. I mean, however you want to look at it, it is a powerful picture of just like that whole, the yin and yang of life. I mean, whatever word you want to use.
No, it's beautiful.
I know this was a crazy episode, but
no,
but there's so many similarities. Like, it's almost like we're trying to show people. What was it when they knocked down the wall in West Germany?
Oh,
Mr. Gorbachev, was it Berlin?
It was East and West Germany.
Yeah, but what was the famous saying? Take down this wall.
I think it was Mr. Gorbachev.
Yeah, take down this wall. We're trying to take down the walls and show everybody there's a better way to live life.
And when we do this for us. Like, this is what keeps us nice and sharp.
It does, absolutely.
So join us. And stay sharp with us, I hope we provide some sort of value. I hope we provide some sort of help and some sort of relief, We
don't say anything that's not beneficial. We don't say anything that's going to lead you astray. Everything that comes out of our mouths on this show will only put you. We'll get your scales from here and we'll put them here. Yeah. But you have to do. It's always your choice. It's always on you to actually balance your scales out. They don't balance themselves out.
No, the average weight loss is 35 pounds per viewer. So, if you want to lose a few pounds, this is what you do. You tune in and you learn some skills.
Yep. So that's 101, starting of the next 100.
Wow. Can't believe 101.
Yeah.
Well, I don't care. I don't count. Keep going.
Yeah, no.
This is a beautiful. I can't understand. I can't relay this, but I'm sure you can feel it. This is beautiful. It's a beautiful practice that we do.
Sure.
And it's brought us so much positivity. It's brought us so much health. That this is a beautiful thing. So we'll probably do 1001. One day there'll be 1001.
Even the evolution of the show from what it started out as which was a lot of it was a lot of anxiety talk in the beginning, a lot of
Sure.
talk about depression, and how it's evolved into like something bigger than that. But still, don't misinterpret any of that. Even though the conversation might not be the same every week, because if it was, and we were saying the same exact thing every week, it'd be, you know, a bunch of episodes of us just repeating ourselves. Pay attention to the common theme, how that doesn't change, right? Always showing you how you're not your mind, always showing you how you're not that egoic thinking mind, you're not that bias, you're not that emotion, you're not any of those things. From Henry's example of even watching a documentary, watch how the dopamine kicks in. So if you listen to our show, like religiously, and no pun intended, but if there's a show every week, you're going to see that that message doesn't change. It never changes. It might sound a little different, right? Maybe for a few episodes, there's a little bit of spiritual talk going on right now, because that's where it's kind of taken us, right? That's when you're an aware person, your blinders start to get wider and wider and wider. You start to see everything for what it actually is, and you can now speak about things on a whole different level. So even though we're not talking about obsessive compulsive disorder every week, or anxiety every week,
or manifestation, or create your own reality,
exact, which are all topics, but they're all every one of those points that we just both said are in every episode, one way or the other. So like what's a good way to put it? Like when you listen to our show, listen to it with an open mind. Like, don't listen to it looking for an answer. Listen to it subjectively. Objectively. Listen to it objectively, and just take it in. Let it sink in what we're saying, and then implement. If you listened from episode 1, we've given 1,000 things you could do to implement this in your daily life, and start implementing it. And then, you know what? Come to me and tell me it hasn't made my life better. I've yet to hear somebody say that, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, we saved a few lives.
Yeah, no, it has. Listen, I told you, I had somebody buy my book at the gym, and today they came in yesterday with a marker, and they wanted me to sign it. My first autograph.
That's crazy. A lot of people are just curious, see what we're doing. A lot of people just want to watch because they like whatever it is.
Because we're eye candy?
Because we're eye candy, obviously. You know, whatever it is, it's fine.
And by you showing that you're vulnerable, me showing that I'm vulnerable, by putting ourselves out there, people relate. The book, like, that's the whole point of doing this, is for somebody to go, oh my God, oh, like, wow, I'm not alone in this. Like, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you went through. And it's, yes, so by you being vulnerable and coming here every week, and me being vulnerable and coming every week, and telling you that I thought, like, my mind wanted to tell me the demons were coming after me for a second, because that's what it's while it sounds a little like out there, but there's a point for us to say that, because look what our human mind does, but watch how we live our lives in spite of what our human mind wants to do to us.
No doubt.
Peace.
That's it. Yeah.
Whoop, whoop.
Peace in the Middle East, as they used to say.
Yeah, well, that hasn't happened yet. Anyway,
we're still waiting.
I've been saying this since I'm 4 years old. We're still waiting.
Oh, okay, we're good. Yeah,
we are good.
We held you enough.
And we are good. Yes.
We held you enough.
Yep. So
there will be a final exam on this. So
I don't even know what questions I would ask. All right, guys. Anyway, everybody, thanks for showing up. Thanks for listening in. Hope you had hope it helped. And as always, like, subscribe. If you have any questions, reach out. If you don't, you don't have to. And
buy the book. Trust me, you won't regret it.
Yeah, no. Please buy the book. Support a writer. and we'll talk to you guys next week. Love and what is love and
peace and love.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. All right. People, take care. Peace. The insights and discussions that we speak about on our show are our own opinions and based on our life experiences. If you or someone in your family or someone you know is suffering and in need of help, please get them that help through medical attention or seeking proper therapy. Again, what we speak about are based on our experiences and not intended to be taken as a form of therapy. Thank you.